By way of review, guys, we said that when we do financial statements and ratio analysis, we don't look at ratios in isolation. We have to look at it from the perspective of time and from the perspective of our direct competitors. Perspective of time means that you have to compare it with the previous years. And with respect to our competitors, you have to benchmark it against our direct competitor. And it's best to benchmark up unless you're the number one player in the industry. In that case, you can benchmark to the number two and also benchmark to other global companies. Okay, it would be good for the company to see what the other global players, the good global players are doing as regards to industry. Okay, so last time we did some common size statement analysis or vertical analysis and horizontal analysis. For common size, we said that this is all about looking at, for the income statement, we look at the income statement from the perspective of one benchmark, which is sales. Okay, for the balance sheet, we compare all the accounts with reference to our total assets. So what we learned before was just one formula, and then we can construct already our vertical analysis. So what does this mean? For example, 0.824, we always express it or express it or define it in terms of the ratio. Cost of goods sold over sales. That means for every 1 peso of sales, the company is spending around 82 centavos for the finished product. Okay, so 92.9 here means that for every 1 peso of sales, the company spends around 93 centavos operating expenses. So bottom line natin, around 3.6 centavos lang ang earnings ng company. No? Net of taxes, net of all the costs for every 1 peso of sales. Now, we don't look at it only this way, we also benchmark it against the previous year. So we can see that in 2019, the company performed better compared to 2021. It had around 94 centavos of, my apologies. 2021 had the best performance relative to 2020 and 2019. They were only spending around 93 centavos per peso of sales. The worst was in 2020 where they were spending around 1 peso for every 1 peso of sales. So halos kinain na, no? The operating costs almost swallowed everything from sales. That's why our net income in 2020, we were suffering from a net loss, 1.6 centavo loss for every peso of sales, which means that for every 1 peso of sales, we are spending around 1.01.6, 1 peso and 1.6 centavos of cost. So we were spending more than we are selling. Okay. In terms of 2021, we were earning 3.6 centavos per peso of sales. Okay, so that's what we do with the common size statement, vertical analysis. And then we also compare this with the benchmark company, with our competitor company, and see how our company fares in comparison with our benchmark company. Now, as regards horizontal analysis, okay, we look at how the account has grown over the years. Okay, so for example, as far as sales is concerned, the company increased sales by 70% between 2019 and 2020. Okay, and in 2021, it just increased by 20.6. So a lower percentage increase for the period 2021 and 2020. Okay, so lower increase in sales. However, we can see here that the increase in cost of goods sold, 73.9, it was really very high. The cost of goods sold increased tremendously in 2021, in 2020 compared to 2019. While 2020, the increase was only 16.5%. So even if the increase in sales was lower, yet there was a lower increase in cost of goods sold. Here, there was a greater increase in cost of goods sold compared to the increase in sales. So in fact, we can see here that total operating costs increased by 80.5%, way greater than the percentage increase in sales. while for 2021-2020, the increase in total operating cost was only 12.3%. And it was less than the increase in sales, which was good. Okay. All right. So this is how we look at the common size statement or the vertical analysis. Okay, yung mga latecomers guys, later na lang yung pagpa-check ng attendance. Okay, so in the same manner, for the common size for the balance sheet, we look at this from the lens of the total assets. So for example, we can see here that for 2021, the composition of the total assets of the company was 76% current assets and 23% fixed assets. It was quite different in year 2020 when the fixed assets was almost double, was almost half as big as the current assets. Okay, this is around maybe 3 or 4 times, around 3 times the net fixed assets is around the current assets is around 3 times as big as the net fixed assets. Okay, so there was a big increase as far as the net fixed assets is concerned in 2020. Largely due, if we take a look at the absolute values, okay, from 1124, okay, from 344, net fixed assets increased by to 939, and then it went down in 2021. Okay, so here in the common size statement for the balance sheet, we can see how the total assets, what are the composition of your total assets, okay, the percentages. Okay, also for the liabilities and equity. Okay, so we can see here that, okay, for total liabilities in 2020, there was a big jump from 54% debt ratio to 80% debt ratio. Okay, and this was attributable to the increase in long-term debt. 323 million naging 1 billion increase in long-term debt. And then what happened was nagbayad yung company ng kalahati ng long-term debt. So it went down in 2021. At the same time, common stock increased from 460 naging, so almost times 4, no? Naging 1680. There was an infusion of capital from the shareholders. That's why yung ratio natin, guys, yung equity ratio natin, 19% na lang noong 2020, no? Ang laki ng debt ratio natin. Okay? We said that there's an advantage to this, but there's also a great risk to this because the company would be serving a great amount of interest expense. Okay? And then if there's a need for funds, then the company might find it difficult to borrow more because it's already the highly leveraged company, 80% na. Okay. However, in 2021, di ba parang nag-reverse, no? Yung equity natin, 56% na, tapos yung liability ratio natin, debt ratio, naging around 44% na lang. So this is largely due to the infusion of capital from 460, naging 1680 yung common stock natin. Okay, so medyo volatile yung capital structure ng company. But then again, we ask ourselves, is this the best capital structure? The best capital structure, as we discussed before, is a capital structure that maximizes shareholder value. And that has to be shown. Kung ano ba yung maximal, optimal capital structure. Okay. All right. Then we also computed for the net operating working capital, the total operating capital. We can see that in 2020, there was a huge increase in operating capital. Nag-invest yung company ng 1.12 million in operating capital. In 2021, mas mababa na lang, 448,000. Okay? Nevertheless, guys, despite the increase in total operating capital in 2020, the NOPAT was still 10,464, mababa, no? Mas mataas pa nga yung sa 2019. Okay? Despite the fact na yung TOC ng 2018 was less than the TOC of 2020. 1.14 lang yung TOC ng 2019, samantalang 2.26 yung total operating capital ng 2020. And yet, mas mataas pa yung NOPAT ng 2019. So medyo nag-subpar yung yung performance ng company sa 2020. The highest was in 2021, at 301 million na operating profit yung firm. Okay? Given an asset-based, operating capital base of 2.7 million. Okay? So makikita natin dito guys yung ROIC. Okay? In 2021, the company created value or provided value to their shareholders because ROIC is greater than 10%, while in 2020, okay, the company diminished the value of the shareholders, no? Or destroyed value kasi 0.9% lang versus 10%. Okay? We learned about the free cash flow. Sabi natin, a negative free cash flow does not necessarily mean bad for the company. Okay, titingnan natin how is the negative free cash flow, what's the reason? No? Dito, it's because of a low NOPAT, although mataas naman yung net investment. So double-edged sword to, maganda to kasi nag-invest sila sa TOC, pero pangit in the sense that maliit lang yung NOPAT ng company in 2020 relative to 2021 or 2019. Okay? So ROIC is related to EVA. Sabi natin, ito positive yung EVA. So value was created, samantalang ito 0.9% lang or ROIC less than 10%. So we were able to show that value was destroyed. Okay, so be sure guys how to know how to compute these measures kasi kasama yan sa quiz natin sa Wednesday. Okay, so we started doing this last time. These are more ratios. We discussed what liquidity ratios are. Liquidity ratios measure the capability of the firm to pay its current obligations as they become due. So we learned about current ratio, quick ratio, and cash ratio. Okay, so once again, guys, these are ratios and this has to be benchmarked against time and benchmarked against a direct competitor. In this case, given tayo ng, I think, dapat direct competitor. Competitor na lang lagay natin dito. Industry to, no? Competitor. Okay. So here we see that the company, anong ibig sabihin ng 2.6? For every 1 peso of liability, current liability, yung kailangang bayaran ng company within 1 year, the company had 2.6 pesos of current assets. Okay? That's good, no? That's good. However, guys, kailangan natin tingnan yung quality ng current assets kasi yung current assets 5 yan eh. Now, yung iba doon, yung iba dyan, maaring it might be difficult to convert it to cash. And remember, yung current liabilities, cash payment yan. Hindi naman pwedeng i-pledge natin yung, unless willing yung supplier natin na i-pledge natin yung receivables sa kanila. Ibig sabihin, ito may receivables kami sa company A. So pwede bang ito na lang ibayad namin sa inyo? Usually, okay, depende rin sa agreement, pero usually hindi pumapayag yung suppliers kasi they will need cash, no? Alright, so 2.6, okay siya. Pero when we looked at the quick ratio, which is a more strict measure of liquidity, kasi ang sinasama na lang dito, cash, marketable securities, at saka receivables, then 0.9 na lang yung natin quick ratio. No? In fact, mas mababa yun sa 2020, 0.5 lang. Okay? Pero si competitor 1, so ibig sabihin, mas capable si competitor in terms of quick ratio to pay their current obligations as compared to our company. Okay, mas stricto talaga, ang pinaka-stricto mismo yung cash ratio. Kasi ito cash over current liabilities. So dito guys, we're discounting, tinatanggal natin yung marketable securities at saka yung receivables. Cash lang talaga. Okay? So ibig sabihin nito, pag may 1 peso na liability tayo na which will become due, the company only has 1.3 centavos. Okay? Ibig sabihin kulang yung cash nila para mabayaran yung current liabilities. And pag ganyan guys, usually, syempre, manghihiram yung company para mabayaran yung liabilities, no? Current liabilities. Okay? All right. Then we looked at the asset management ratio. Okay. Remember guys, sabi natin, 5 klaseng ratios to. You have liquidity ratios, you have asset management ratio, you have debt ratio, you have profitability ratios, and then market value ratios. Okay, so far I think we have only reached up to the asset management ratio. So but let's continue discussing it. Okay, so sa asset management ratio, we have yung mga turnover ratios, 3 yan. We have the days outstanding ratios, 3 din yan, corresponding to our turnovers. Sabi natin mag-partner yung mga yan, ano? And then you have two additional measures which are very important, yung operating cycle at saka yung cash conversion cycle. Okay? So all of these guys are measures of your working capital. Mini-measure natin dito yung working capital, which includes your current assets and current liabilities. Okay, so let's first take a look at inventory turnover. We discussed this before. 3.9 times means that it takes the company 3.9 times to buy raw materials, convert to finished goods, and then sell. 3.9 times every year. Okay, now the higher the turnover, inventory turnover, the better. Kasi ibig sabihin yung velocity nila sa pag-convert to finished goods and then sell, mas mabilis. So yung competitor natin 6.1 times, no? So talon-talo yung company natin. Tayo 3.9 times lang. In fact, nag-deteriorate pa siya. Noong 2020, we were turning our inventory 5 times. Noong 2019, it was 4 times, pero mas mataas kaysa 2021. So this tells us something about the performance of the company. So medyo bumaba yung yung inventory turnover. Okay, relative to the benchmark, layo. Ang layo ng 6.1 versus 3.9. Okay? How about ARTO? Okay, so from sales on account to collection, 9.3 times tayo. Si competitor 10.2 times. Ano ibig sabihin ng mas mabilis sila nakakakolekta ng receivables? 10 beses, 10.2 times every year. Tayo 9.3 times lang. In fact, mas maganda pa nga yung performance natin in 2020. We were able to collect more on our receivables, okay? And also 2019, no, mas mataas pa kaysa 2021. So there was a marked decrease as far as the collection activities of the company is concerned. Kasi 'di ba ito, pag galing dun sa sales on account, collect. Sales on account, collect, ibig sabihin 9.3 times per year natin nagagawa yan. Okay, how about this APTO? Ano yung APTO, guys? Turnover din to. So again, ang ano dito, number of times din. So ilang times a year, bumibili tayo on account sa supplier natin, tapos nagbabayad tayo. 13.6 times yun a year na nangyayari yan. Samantalang si competitor, 15.1 times. So what's the implication of this? Yung 15.1 times yan as compared to 13.6 number of times. Mas mabagal tayo, no? Mas mabagal tayong nagbabayad, no? Mas konti yung natin, konting number of times in a year na nagbabayad tayo dun sa suppliers natin. Okay, now itong mga turnover ratios, pwede natin i-convert yan into days outstanding ratios. Magka-partner yung mga yan. Now, it's easy, mas madaling maintindihan yung yung days outstanding ratios. Okay, for one, okay, itong days inventory outstanding related yan kay inventory turnover. So paano natin mako-convert si inventory turnover to days inventory outstanding? We need to know how many days per year yung operations. So what we did here was to give this a name. Okay, so ang assumption natin, every day may operations yung company, walang holidays, walang Christmas. Eh siguro isang industry to na kailangan talaga may pinoproduce, may ginagawa, kailangan may So may it doesn't matter, guys, kung holiday, Christmas, November 1 or New Year, may pasok pa rin, no? Kaya 365 siya. Okay, to convert yung ITO natin, inventory turnover, yung 3.9 times, to convert that into days, okay, we use the formula, ito lang. Operating days divided by the turnover ratio. No? Okay, so that's 365 divided by, we have 3.9. So this is 95 days. So days outstanding, guys, days na yan. Convert natin yung 3.9 times a year, convert natin into 95 days. Anong ibig sabihin yan? 95 days yung number of days it takes the company to buy raw materials, convert into finished goods, and then sell. 95 days yung yung duration na yan. While on the other hand, si benchmark company, 60 days lang. So mas mabilis sila. Mas mabilis. Sabi nga na, related yan dito sa speed, no, ng turnover. 6.1 times, which converts into 60 days. So after 60 days sila nakabenta na tayo, hindi pa tapos, siguro ginagawa pa rin natin yung finished goods. It takes us 95 days to sell our goods. Okay, from buying raw materials to converting to finished goods and then selling. 95 days yun. In fact, bumagsak yung performance natin noong 2020 nga, 73 eh. Mas mabilis pa yung velocity natin ng paggawa, pagbenta, no? Noong 2020. Okay, yung 2019 halos pareho lang, 91 days. Pero compared to our direct competitor, talon-talo tayo guys, 60 days. Okay, no wonder guys, kung ganyan ang labanan, wala. Paano ka mananalo sa isang competitor na within 60 days, nagawa na nila, nakabili na sila ng raw material, na-convert into finished goods, na benta. 60 days yung talon-talo tayo. Tayo 95 days on the average. Okay, ito naman, day sales outstanding. Ano to? So related to dun sa receivables turnover, no? Itong turnover na to related dun sa DSO. Okay, ang formula ganun din. Operating days divided by the R2. So ano ibig sabihin ng 939 na to? Ang ibig sabihin ng 39, it takes the company 39 days. So from the sales on account to the collection, 39 days siya. Pagkabenta on account, collect 39 days. In fact, nag-deteriorate yung collection period noong 2020, 31 days. Okay, sa 2019 medyo mababa din, 37. Pero guys, yung yung competitor in 15 days kolekta kagad sila. 15 days. So they sell on account, tapos within 15 days they're able to collect already. Okay, how about this guys? Days payable outstanding. Again, ang formula nito related to sa APTO. So operating days divided by the payable turnover. And we have here 27 days. Ano ibig sabihin ng 27 days? It takes the company on the average to buy the raw materials on account and then 27 days to pay. Okay? So nung 2020, mas in a sense guys, mas maganda to kasi parang binibigyan tayo ng longer terms. Pero guys, si competitor natin 90 days. Okay? 90 days siya binibigyan. Or binibigyan siya ng it's able to pay its payables on the average 90 days. So dalawa lang pwede yan, Either hindi siya nakakabayad on time or because may power siya or because maganda yung performance siya and companies would want to be associated with this company, willing sila na magbigay kay company ng very long term sa 90 days bago sila babayaran. Okay, so that's what this means. Tayo, we're only given 27 days, yung competitor natin 90 days. Okay? So kung 90 days muna tayo bago natin bayaran yung supplier kasi may terms tayo, then maganda yun, no? In a sense, maganda. Okay, then we go to these two measures, operating cycle and cash conversion cycle. So napaka-importante nitong dalawang measures na to, class. No? So number one, operating cycle. Ano yung operating cycle? Ang tawag natin dito, cash to cash cycle. Bakit cash to cash? So operating cycle, number of days din yan, which is days inventory outstanding plus days sales outstanding. So itong 134 na to, it means from the time bibili ng raw materials, convert to finished goods, ibenta, tapos collect. All in all, 134 days. Okay, yun yung cash to cash cycle natin. No? Cash, nagsimula kasi nagbayad tayo ng raw materials, bumili tayo ng raw materials, and then cash nagtapos yung makukolect na natin yung receivables natin. 134 days, guys. Halos kalahating taon na. No? Okay, so medyo may problema tayo dito sa management ng assets natin. In fact, sa 2020, 104 nga lang. So na-delay pa lalo ng 30 days. So if we were management, titingnan natin saan ba galing yan? Kasi days inventory outstanding natin 95. Ibig sabihin, pagbili ng raw materials, convert into finished goods, and then sell, it takes us 95 days. So is it due to the acquisition of raw materials? Baka nahihirapan tayong kumuha ng raw materials. Okay? So kasi pag natagalan tayo doon, syempre, yung operating cycle natin. Or is it because yung process natin, yung pag-convert into finished goods, baka marami tayong wastage, marami tayong pag-stop ng operations kasi luma na equipment o careless yung mga tao. So ang daming reason. So that has to be analyzed. And finally, pag nabenta na, then collect. Is it because 39 days yung natin, average collection period? No? Okay, so these are the reasons. Titingnan yan, guys, i-analyze yan. And if we compare it, guys, to the competitor, wow, 75 lang si competitor, no? In fact, nag-deteriorate tayo noong 2020, 104 days yung halang yung cash conversion cycle natin, no? Tapos ito, 128 nung 2019, no? Halos hindi rin nagkalayo dito sa 2021. Pero talaga nag-deteriorate noong 2021. And then 75 days, yes, di ba? Parang nakadalawang beses na naikot yung competitor natin, tayo kabebenta lang natin at saka kako-collect lang natin. No? Okay, and then we will look at cash conversion cycle, which is just the operating cycle minus the days payable outstanding. So let me go back to what we were discussing last time. Balik tanaw lang natin to, konting review. Okay, so we were looking at this, di ba? Ano ibig sabihin ng ano natin ng operating cycle? Okay, ito 95 days at saka 39 days. 95 days, buy raw materials, convert to finished goods, sell. Okay? Pagka-sell natin, guys, it takes us another 39 days to collect. So all in all, our cash conversion cycle is operating cycle is 134 days. Okay? Sabi natin, talon-talo tayo ng competitor natin kasi si competitor, ilang days yung cash conversion cycle, yung operating cycle niya? Okay, ito, 75 days lang. 60 days to convert to finished goods and then sell, 15 days to collect. So this is 75. Vis-a-vis yung 134 days natin. Okay, to compound the problem, guys, kailan tayo magbabayad ng receive ng payables natin? On the 27th day. No? On the 27th day, kailangan natin magbayad ng suppliers. We do not want the company to default on that kasi mababad shot tayo, no? Tsaka hindi magandang practice yun na kasi usually yung mga terms yan, may penalty din yan. Pag hindi tayo nakapagbayad, merong patong yan. No? Okay, so here, okay, so 20 days magbabayad na tayo. Saan magagaling yung payment? Okay, theoretically, mangungutang tayo, di ba? Kasi dito pa natin makukuha yung cash natin. Okay, so how long will it take us to pay? So the total is 134 days minus 27 days. Ito guys yung 107 days. No? So itong days na to, which we call cash conversion cycle, is the number of days for us to pay the loan, and this will incur interest. Okay, so the higher the cash conversion cycle, the more expensive for the company. More expensive guys kasi may interest siya, no? So it's a function of time. So as compared kunyari 10 days versus 107 days, syempre mas konti interest natin pag 10 days vis-a-vis 107 days. Okay? So napakataas ng cash conversion cycle natin. Okay? 107 days. So this really begs the question, ano nangyayari sa company? So hindi pa pwedeng ganyan. Kailangan guys, aralin ng company yan and see how they can perform better. Okay, compared to their competitor. Tingnan natin guys yun ang nangyayari sa competitor. Si competitor natin guys, 60 days pa lang nabenta nila yung goods, 15 days na collect na. So 75 days yung operating cycle nila. Cash to cash nila, 75 days. Okay? And then kailan sila magbabayad? Ang nila, days payable outstanding is 90 days. Dito pa sila magbabayad, no? Diba? So dito na-collect na natin yung cash, dito pa sila magbabayad. So they have 15 days additional in order to do something with the cash collections. Pwede na lang ipasok yan, kunyari, sa marketable securities. Kung pwede mag-earn yan, kahit 15 days lang, pwede pa natin nilang paluguin yung pera. Okay? So 90 days yung yung days payable outstanding. Okay, so 15 days, negative 15 yung cash conversion cycle nila. So pag negative guys yung cash conversion cycle nun, ibig sabihin nakolekta muna yung sales kaysa magbabayad sila ng payables. Okay. So ngayon guys, Siyempre, the higher the net positive, no? The cash conversion cycle, the worse it is for the company. Imagine kung 180 days to, ibig sabihin, ipa-finance sila yung payables nila 180 days, no? Halos kalahating taon. So, mas malaking interest yan. Okay, now, on the other hand, guys, a negative cash conversion cycle can be also good, can be good. However, may ano yan, may caveat yan, may konting warning. So I gave an example last time, sabi natin, yung base payable outstanding natin 180. Ibig sabihin, binabayaran natin yung suppliers within 180 days. Okay, tapos nakakolekta natin yung receivables natin. Okay? Ano na yung buy raw materials, convert to finished goods, sell, tapos collect, 30 days lang, ang bilis. No? Therefore, our cash conversion cycle, so ang operating cycle natin 30 days, itong company na to. Ang cash conversion cycle will be 30 minus 180, so that's negative 150. Okay, theoretically, is that good or bad? Yes, theoretically, that's good. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, meron tayong 5 months, no? On the average 5 months para gamitin muna yung cash. Ipasok sa treasury bills, ipasok sa short-term investment, etc. or invest anywhere. No? Okay? All right. 150 days. Kaso nga lang guys, ang downside nito, tingnan nyo. Okay? Yung kapartner natin na supplier, tinitikis natin in the sense that binabayaran natin na matagal. No? Eh, paano lang guys kung ibig sabihin nito mga to, 180 days, ang tagal nila nakukuha yung cash nila. So, there's a possibility that these companies will fold up. Okay, so that's very true. So sa isang tunay na mundo, diba? Sa isang tunay na mundo guys, the company does not operate in a vacuum. Ibig sabihin hindi lang siya mag-isa. Unless monopoly siya. Tapos siya mismo yung nag-provide ng raw materials, siya mismo yung gumagawa. Ibig sabihin yung full breadth ng supply chain niya, okay, ng operations chain, siya mismo gumagawa. Siya gumagawa ng raw materials, siya lahat, no? Pag ganun, walang problema, no? Pero pag nagdi-depend yung company sa suppliers, okay, importante din guys na makita natin, masuportan yung suppliers. Okay, kasi if the suppliers fold up, tapos sila yung source ng magagandang raw materials, then ma-apektuhan din yung company. Okay, so ito guys yung sinasabi natin, example, kunyari si SM, medyo mataas yung DPO niya, no? So, I know of friends who stopped selling at SM kasi masyadong kailangan mahaba yung PC nyo ng cash dyan. Okay? Pero pag kaya, then that's good kasi ang benefit naman with doing business with SM, yung number ng mga tao na pumapasok, no? Okay, so it's really a balance, no? It's really a balance. So, maganda yung mataas na negative na cash conversion cycle. Pero still, guys, yung mga organizations with the soul, dapat tinan din yung mga business partners nila, kasama doon yung mga customers at saka yung mga suppliers. Okay, so that's what the operating cycle and the cash conversion cycle tell us, yung kwento na to. No? Okay, so sabi natin, ito swamp tayo ng 107 days. Ito yung number of days na ipa-finance natin, yung payables natin. No? Tapos ito, negative 15, ang layo natin dun sa direct competitor natin. Okay, then we go to FATO and TATO. So this just measures magkanong sales ang nag-generate sa bawat piso ng fixed assets at saka magkanong sales ang nag-generate sa bawat piso ng total assets. Okay, 8.4 FATO, ang formula niyan, sales over the fixed assets. Okay, so 1 peso for every 1 peso of fixed assets, the company is able to generate sales of 8.4. Okay, surprisingly, mas mataas yung FATO ng 2021 relative to 2020. Kasi dito, ang nangyari dito, nag-invest talaga ng fixed assets kaya lumaki yung divisor. No? So, in fact, in 2021, we were better off compared to our benchmark company kasi 7 lang sila, tayo 8.4. Okay, however, in terms of total assets, talo tayo ng benchmark company natin kasi they were generating 2.5 pesos of sales for every 1 peso of total assets. Okay, tayo 2 lang. And not much difference between 2019, 2020, and 2021. Okay. Lagyan ko na isang decimal place. Okay. All right. So let's now go to debt ratio, guys. Okay, itong tatlong importanteng to, yung debt ratios. First, we have debt ratio and then times interest earned and then EBITDA coverage. Let's take a look at them one by one. So ano yung debt ratio, guys? Ang formula niya, total liabilities over total assets lang. So what's the meaning of 50% sa competitor natin? Ibig sabihin, for every 1 peso of total assets, 50% of that is financed by debt. Okay, good or bad? Well, we can only say that ang good niyan, guys, sa debt ratio is the one that maximizes shareholder value. Okay? We can only compare that si company natin in 2019, halos pareho lang siya ng debt ratio ng competitor company. Mas mataas nga lang yung company natin. Pero noong 2020, guys, grabing tinaas, no, ng debt ratio natin. As mentioned above a while ago, di ba, nagtaas talaga yung yung long-term debt natin, no, from 323 naging 1 million. Ang total liabilities natin from 805 naging 223. Okay, while equity went down 663, 557. So talagang mataas yung ano natin, yung debt nung 2020. That's why naging 80% yung debt ratio natin. Okay, and then it went down to 43% kasi nag-infuse ng capital yung shareholders. Okay? So that's the debt ratio. Okay ba to o hindi? Masasabi lang natin, guys, na highly leveraged tayo noong 2020. Okay? Which is better, guys? Well, we can take a look at this from different perspectives. Number one, alam natin na the best capital structure, okay, is a capital structure that maximizes shareholder value. Okay, so that has to be computed. Hindi natin alam. Alam lang natin dito na 80.7% yung debt ratio natin or 19.3% yung equity ratio natin. Okay? Ibig sabihin nito, very risky to in terms of interest payments. Kasi pag mas mataas yung debt ratio, mas mataas yung interest. So may effect yun positively kasi bumababa yung taxable income natin, so may leverage effect siya. Pero ang negative niya, guys, is that tumataas talaga yung interest expense and the company might not be able to pay its obligations. No? Okay, true enough, guys, makikita natin yan dito sa times interest earned. Kasi ang times interest earned, ang mini-measure niyan, how much operating profit does the company have for every peso of interest expense. And kita nga natin dito, guys, ano? Kasi sa 2020, naging highly leveraged yung company. 10 centavos na lang ang meron niya para bayaran yung 1 piso na interest expense. Okay, so dito medyo nanganib siya, no, sa it was really a poor situation here kasi ano na lang 10 centavos na lang sa bawat interest na babayaran, 10 centavos na lang. Kita natin dito yan, guys, sa net income. Okay, let's take a look at the net income here. Okay, ang EBIT natin dito, taas ang EBIT natin dito 17,440. Ito na lang, guys, so interest expense natin 17600. Hindi na sufficient, guys, yung EBIT natin, yung operating profit natin to pay our interest expense. Compare that with 2021, ang laki ng operating profit natin compared to interest expense. Ganun din, guys, sa 2019. Okay? So itong 2020 talaga nagkaroon ng problema yung tie natin, times interest earned. 10 centavos na lang ng EBIT, ng operating profit for every 1 peso of sales. Okay? Yun ang ibig sabihin nito. Not sales, sorry. For every peso of interest expense. Okay? So, noong 2021, naka-recover naman. Okay? Halos pareho lang ng competitor natin. Although in 2019, mas mababa. Okay? 3.35 lang relative to 2021. Okay. Now, how about this EBITDA coverage? Ito, importante din to. Take a look at the formula. So dito, EBITDA plus the lease. Ibig sabihin, ibabalik muna natin yung lease. Okay? Ito ngayon yung operating profit kasama yung lease na available para bayaran yung mga fixed expenses. Okay? Ano yung mga fixed expenses natin? Interest expense, principal payments, at saka lease payments. Okay? So gusto natin malaman ilang operating profit, okay, ilang profit before interest, taxes, depreciation and amortization, plus the lease, ang meron ng company para bayaran itong mga fixed expenses natin. Okay? So for example, in 2021, take a look at the formula, guys. Okay, explain natin itong formula na to, ha. Okay, ano tong C9 na to? No? C9 is your, okay, this is your, I think this is your EBIT. And then dinagdag natin yung C7, ito yung depreciation natin. So if we add depreciation to your EBIT, makukuha natin EBITDA. Okay, so yung EBITDA natin is your EBIT plus the depreciation and amortization. Okay, so ito yun, sum ng C9 and C7. Tapos may isa pa tayong sinam, yung C44, ito yung lease payments. No? Okay, so i-add back natin yung lease payments. And then, ito naman, ano to? What's this? Interest natin, nasa C10. Okay, principal payments, guys, ito, D31 minus C31. Okay, kailan magkakaroon ng ganito? Magkakaroon ng ganitong principal payments kung bumaba yung long-term debt natin. Pero kung tumaas, wala tayong principal payments. So take note, di ba, ang principal payments, guys, yung binabayaran natin yung long-term debt natin. Okay? And then lease C44 ulit. Okay? So tingnan natin to, ha. What's D31 minus C31? F9. So that's 500,000. Okay, 500,000. Okay, so let's go up, no? Let's go up here. Okay, tingnan natin long-term debt natin. Okay, ito lang naman kasi pwedeng magiging source ng principal payments. Ito kasi current liability na yan, hindi naman principal yan, no? So iisa lang yung source natin ng principal payment. Noong 2020, it was 1 million. Noong 2021, naging 500. Ibig sabihin, nagbayad tayo ng principal. Okay? So between 2021 and 2020, principal was paid. Kasi yung 1 million natin naging 500,000. So sa formula dun ka, sa interest plus principal plus lease, isasama natin yung kung magkano yung principal na binayad. So that's 1 million minus 500,000. Yun ang principal payment na binayad. Pero dito, guys, sa 2020 and 2019, walang principal payments. In fact, tumaas pa nga di ba? Nangutang. From 323 naging 1 million. Ibig sabihin, nangutang yan. So walang principal payments yan. So ang papasok lang dun sa principal payments sa EBITDA coverage, yung 2021. No? Kasi nagbayad tayo from 1 million up to 500,000. Okay? So ulitin ko yung formula na yon. It is C7 plus C9. No? Okay? Kasi kailangan natin EBITDA. Ang EBITDA is your EBIT plus your depreciation. Tapos kasama pa rin C44, i-add back natin yung C44 is your lease. So yun yung denominator natin, no? EBIT plus depreciation plus your lease. This one. And then divide natin dun sa magkano binayad sa interest, magkano binayad sa principal, magkano binayad sa lease. Ang binayad sa interest is this one. Ito, 80. Kaya nga may C10 dun. Ang binayad sa principal is 1 million minus 500. Yun ang binayad sa principal. Tapos ang binayad sa lease is C40. Ito. Yan. So that's how we get the formula here. Okay. Ito. You know? Yan. That's how we get the EBITDA coverage. Okay, now when we compare that with ito, 2020 naman, notice guys, kinapilan natin yung formula kaso tinanggal natin yung yung bawas dun sa long-term debt. Why did we remove that? Kasi dito meron, di ba? Meron dito, D31 minus C31. Dito, tinanggal natin yung E31 minus D31. Bakit natin hindi sinama? Kasi walang principal payments na binayad, no? Walang principal payments between dito 2019 and 2020. Ito. Okay, from 323 tumaas siya, naging 1 million. Kung bumaba yan, guys, okay, nagbayad din tayo. So kukunin natin difference yan. Okay? Alright, ganoon din dito guys sa dulo, no? Okay, wala din tayong sinama dun sa sa principal payments. Okay, pause muna ako guys. Pause muna ako and then I'll give you a few minutes to work on that. A few seconds, guys. And then if you're done, if you have no questions, feel free to chat clear. Otherwise, kung may questions kayo, please, you may unmute yourself and or ipakisulat nyo yung question nyo. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds, guys. Paki-chat na lang guys kung nakuha yung formula ng debt ratio times interest earned and EBITDA coverage. Okay, let me write the formula here. EBITDA coverage ito. Ito yung EBITDA coverage. No? Paki-chat guys kung ready na. Questions, guys? Okay, thank you, Robert. Okay, how about the rest, guys? I'm waiting for your feedback. You may unmute yourself, guys, if you have questions. Okay, thank you, Ian. Thank you. Okay, so far, two students pa lang yung nag-feedback, guys. I would like to see the rest. The 14. Okay. Okay, thank you, guys. So looks like nakuha niyo naman yung debt ratio times interest earned. May notes ako dito about EBITDA coverage. No? All right. So we now go to profitability ratios, guys. So we have certain measures about the profitability ratios. Okay, number one, operating margin. So as the name suggests, as the formula suggests, guys, it's your EBIT over sales. So magkanong operating profit ang nag-generate natin sa bawat piso ng benta, no? So we already did this in fact, guys, dun sa sa vertical analysis, no? Where we express everything in terms of sales. So that's C9, your EBIT divided by sales, C4. Okay, so if you can see, guys, ito sa bawat piso ng sales, we were generating 7 centavos. Okay, operating profit in 2021. Okay, this was very low in 2020. Hindi nga umabot ng 1 centavo. No? 0.3 of a centavo lang yung operating margin natin. Mas maganda pa noong 2019 kasi almost at par with 2021. 6 centavos per peso of sales. However, when we compare that with our direct competitor, we pale in comparison. No? Sila 9 centavos per peso of sales. Tayo 7 centavos lang. Ganun din, guys, sa profit margin. Yung profit margin, this is the bottom line. So we go to the net income after tax. No? Magkano na ba yung net profit talaga sa bawat piso ng sales? Ang direct competitor natin, 6 centavos. May earnings sila na 6 centavos, neto na yon for every peso of sales. Tayo, 3.6 centavos lang. So talo tayo ng direct competitor. No? In fact, in 2020, negative pa nga eh. Negative pa. Ibig sabihin, we're losing around 2 centavos per peso of sales. Okay? So medyo talagang problematic yung 2020. Ano? And it's important for the company to really identify saan ba sila nagkamali dito, ano ba yung mga challenges nila. No? Okay, next is another profitability ratio is the basic earning power. Ang basic earning power, guys, magkanong dito sa sa operating margin, magkano yung EBIT natin, operating profit for every peso of sales. Ito naman, magkano yung operating profit natin for every peso of assets. No? Okay, so also the higher the better. Ibig sabihin kasi mas mataas yung operating profit natin per peso of sales. No? Pero talo din tayo ng direct competitor kasi sila 0.18, tayo 0.14. Pareho lang nung 2019. Okay, bumaba talaga tayo ng 2020. 1 centavo lang, no? Ang nag-generate na operating profit per 1 peso of sales. At least nag-increase siya noong 2021, naging 14 centavos per peso of total assets, no? Sa bawat piso na asset na ginamit, nakapag-generate tayo ng operating profit ng 14 centavos compared to just 1 centavo noong 2020. Okay. Then we have yung mga returns, no? ROA and ROE. Yung mga returns yan, guys, it's always based on the net income after tax. Okay. Yung FATO naman naka-base sa sales. Pareho lang yung nila, no? Yung kunyari, yung TATO, it's sales over total assets. Ito namang return on assets, it's net income after tax over total assets. Okay? So pag returns, guys, ang kasabay na niyan na numerator, net income after tax. All right. So si ROA, that's net income after tax over total assets. So medyo related siya dito kay kay basic earning power, Kasi si basic earning power ang mini-measure yung EBIT, samantalang ito naman si ROA, yung net income after tax. Okay, so dito, guys, 7.2 centavos ang profit ng company per peso of sales. Okay? So we pale in comparison to the benchmark company kasi 9% sila, no? Okay, and then ito naman nung 2020, okay, loss nga no? Loss. Ibig sabihin nun, guys, for every peso of total asset, okay? lugi tayo, no? Ng 3.3 centavos. Okay, so nalulugi yung company noong 2020 every peso of assets. Okay? All right. So, ganun din guys, related din dito si ROE, no? Si ROE naman, paano naman mini-measure siya, no? Si ROE, ang formula natin, magkanong profit ang nag-generate sa bawat piso ng infusion ng equity or investment ng mga shareholders. Okay, tayo 12.8. Ibig sabihin nun, sa bawat piso ng equity na pinrovide ng shareholders, nag-earn tayo ng profit na 12 centavos, 12.8 centavos. Si direct competitor natin 18, so talo din talaga tayo. Ito talaga noong 2020, lugi pa, no? Kawawa yung mga shareholders kasi sa bawat piso na ininvest nila, okay? Sorry guys kung minsan napapaaray ako kasi sumasakit yung likod ko, no? Naglo-lose yung company ng 17.1 centavos. No? Imagine, yung bawat piso na investment natin as shareholder, nalulugi tayo ng 17.1 centavos. Okay. So ito naman, meron tayong tatlong ratios dito na napaka-importante din. Earnings per share. Ano yung earnings per share? Ang formula nito, net income after tax divided by average number of shares. Bakit kinukuha guys yung average number of shares? Okay, tingnan natin yung number of shares ha. Noong 2020, it was 100,000. Noong 2021, it was 250,000. Ibig sabihin, nag-increase yung number of shares. Ibig sabihin, may mga nag-invest. So, ina-average natin yan kasi hindi natin alam kung kailan nag-invest. No? So, ang ginagawa natin, we assume that the investment was carried uniformly throughout the period. Okay? So, we get the average of 250 divided by 100 to assume that the investment, the new infusion of shareholders' money was carried out uniformly throughout the whole period. Okay? So, that's why we get the average of the shares. So, ito, ang formula nito, it's just the net income after tax, okay, divided by the average number of shares. So yung 250 and 100. Okay, and then we just copy the formula to the right. Okay, so what does this tell us? Itong 1.45 na to. It means, guys, that, tingnan nyo yung formula, always base it on the formula. So sa bawat piso ng share, the company was earned for the shareholders 1 peso and 45 centavos of earnings, no, of income. Pero talo tayo ng direct competitor natin kasi sila sa bawat piece, sa bawat one share kumikita, bawat share kumikita ng 1.85. Sa atin bawat share kumikita ng 1.45. 2020, alam natin, since net income is negative, so sa bawat share natatalo ng 0.95 or approximately 1 peso. Okay, so yun ang earnings per share, no? As the name suggests, magkano yung net income divided by the average shares. Okay, so interpretation, in 2021, sa bawat isang share kumita ng 1.45 compared to the competitor, sa bawat share kumita ng 1.85. Of course, nung 2020, sa bawat share, nalugi ng almost 1 peso. Okay. Then you have ito, price per earnings ratio, yung per. This is also called per. Okay, so ang formula nito, price per share divided by EPS. Yung price per share, ito yung market price. So alam na natin yung market price na yan. Ang market price ng 2020, given yan, no? Binigay sa atin that at the end of 2021, the market price is ito, 12.17. Okay, so meron tayong market price. Okay, itong per natin, market price per share or market price divided by EPS, earnings per share. Okay, so, okay, meron naman tayong EPS dito, di ba? So yung price na yon divided by EPS. Okay, so anong ibig sabihin yan? 8.4. Ang ibig sabihin ng 8.4 guys, itong per, itong price earnings ratio, Okay? Sa bawat piso na earnings, okay, ang presyo ng pagbili ng stock na yan is 8.4. Okay, so mas mataas yung presyo kaysa earnings na makukuha, no? Okay, so importante itong per, guys, para malaman natin kung mahal yung stock na yan. So, kunyari, 50 yung per. Ibig sabihin yan, medyo mahal yung stock na yan kasi you will need to buy 50 pesos para makakuha ka ng 1 peso na earnings. Okay? Earnings per share. Okay, remember, the formula is the price divided by the EPS. Okay? So, ito, 8.4. Okay? Ang ano naman, 9.5. So, mas mahal yung ano natin, competitor. Kasi ano ibig sabihin 9.5? Ito yung price ng stock for every 1 peso na earnings per share. Okay? Ngayon, yung per, guys, ng 2021, no meaning to, no? So, this has no meaning. Maglagay lang ako ng comment dito. Okay, comment. Insert comment. So, this is no meaning if per is negative. So, when does this happen, guys? A negative per happens when your, okay, kailan nangyayari yan, guys? Kung ano, guys, if your EPS is negative. Yan. Okay, kailan nagiging negative yung EPS? Pag negative yung net income after tax. Okay? So a per that's negative, guys, has no meaning. So ito hindi natin pwedeng i-interpret. Kasi ang ibig sabihin nito, hindi naman pwedeng magkaroon ng negative na price per share, no? Okay, so we just ignore the context of this. Kasi we cannot interpret a negative price, negative price per share. Imposible naman na maging negative yung price ng isang stock, no? Kaya naging negative kasi naging negative yung EPS niya. So we don't interpret this. Okay, and lastly, guys, sa mga price ratio, we have to price per cash flow. Okay, paano natin makukuha yung price per cash flow? So it's the share price, okay, alam natin itong share price natin, divided by the operating cash flow per share. Okay, paano natin makukuha yung operating cash flow per share? Kunin natin yung operating cash flow, then divided by the number of shares. So let me flash the formula. Okay, take a look at this, guys. So it's the price, makukuha natin sa C39 yan, divided by operating cash flow per share. Okay, how do we get operating cash flow? Ang operating cash flow, guys, is obtained by your net income after tax, then add back depreciation. Okay, remember, ginawa natin yan, guys, di ba? Remember ito, di ba? Net income after tax, then add back depreciation. That's your operating cash flow. Okay, so net income after tax plus depreciation, that's your operating cash flow. Pero ang question kasi, operating cash flow per share. So, i-divide natin yan ng number of shares. And we have to divide it by the average number of shares. Okay, which is, asan na yung average number of shares natin? Number of shares is here, up. Number of shares is ito, no? Again, yung 250 at saka 100, kukunin natin yung average yan. Okay? So i-flash ko ulit, guys, yung ano, yung price per cash flow. So ang price natin, yung price sa taas, yung 12.17 divided by cash flow per share, operating cash flow per share. So sinum up natin si net income after tax at saka si depreciation, and then dinivide natin ng average na ng share price natin, C40 at saka D40. Okay, so let me just show the formula here. It's equal to formula text para may guide kayo. Formula text nitong ito. Okay, so ito yung formula, no? So that's your price per cash flow per share. Okay, so the higher the price to cash flow ratio, the more expensive it is. So ito mas ma-expensive, guys, yung ano natin, yung direct competitor natin. Kasi ibig sabihin yan, ang price ng isang share is 7.6 sa bawat 1 peso of operating cash flow na makukuha from that company. Samantalang tayo 5.7. Okay, now there's also a reason why this is more expensive, like yung per at saka yung price cash flow per share. Kasi mas maganda yung performance ng company na to no? Ng ating direct competitor. So, kaya tumataas yung price is because there's a greater demand for this stock. So, mas maraming gustong bumili. So, tumataas talaga yung price niya. So, that's just very consistent with the law of supply and demand. No? Okay, pause muna ako guys for you to copy the formula or work on the formula. Okay, I'll give you a few seconds, guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask now. Okay, dalawa na lang natitira natin na ratios. Guys, so far, paki-chat na lang please so that I know that so far you're okay with the formulas. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, itong class na to, wala kayong masyadong questions. No? Okay, sana hindi lang kayo nahiya. If you have questions, please feel free to chat or to unmute yourself para i-raise ang question. Okay, lastly guys, market value na lang. Ito na lang dalawang to. And madali lang yung formula na to. So it's total equity divided by the average number of shares. So that's our book value per share. Okay, so ang book value per share natin, kunin lang natin yung total equity divided by natin ng average number of shares. So very straightforward yung formula na yan. C35 is your total equity. Then, average na naman ng number of shares natin. Okay? So that's simply the book value per share. No? Okay, so kinapi lang natin tong formula natin to the right. Okay, so ibig sabihin nito guys, okay, ibig sabihin nito, okay, mas mataas yung BVPS book value per share ng direct competitor natin. Mas mataas yung value ng equity nila for every 1 share. No? So mas mataas yung equity nila for every 1 share as the formula suggests. Tayo 11.3, si 13.6. Nag-recover na nga tayo kasi dati noong 2020, 5.6 to. Okay, and last guys, market to book value. Yung market to book value lang, magkano yung share price ngayon sa market divided by magkano yung book value per share. So meron tayong book value per share. Okay, ang kailangan na lang natin yung market to book value. So this is very easy. Okay, so in fact, pwede natin kukunin itong BVPS na to. So it's just the magkano yung market value, magkano yung per share, which is C39, divided by the book value per share, which is 11.3. Okay, so that's the increment of the market value over the book value. Okay, the higher the better, guys. No? Kung mas mataas yung market value divided over the book value, that's better. So we can see here that the value of the company is greater, far greater than the value of the benchmark company than our company. Kasi tayo, ang market value lang natin 1.08 sa bawat 1 peso ng book value. Yung competitor natin, almost 3 pesos. No? So mga almost times 3 yung market value ng competitor natin. Okay, so that ends guys our discussion on this different types of ratios, yung liquidity natin, asset management, debt ratio, profitability ratio, and market value ratios. So all of them guys have their role to play in understanding and appreciating the performance of the company over the past years. Okay, we'll go to the last 2 sections, the last 2 lessons for tonight. Okay, so hanggang dito guys yung quiz natin sa Wednesday. And that's number 1, Dupont and the Altman Z. Okay, so saan ginagamit si Dupont? Dupont is a company now in the early 1900s, no? Ang pinaka-importanting measure is ROE, return on equity, kasi this is all about how much the profit being generated by the company for every 1 peso of equity. Of course, sabi natin ngayon may mga mas robust na measures like EVA, ROIC, mas ano yon, mas strong kaysa sa ROE. Kasi si ROE ang ginagamit niya net income after tax, samantalang yung ROIC ang ginagamit natin yung NOPAT, no? Tapos sina-charge natin si company for the use of the capital. Ito walang charging to eh. Okay, ang assumption dito free yung paggamit ng capital, no? Which is actually wrong. No? Okay. So if you take a look at this formula, guys, this is ROE, net income after tax over total equity. Now what we can do is to multiply this by sales over sales and total asset over total asset. Now we know that the value of ROE will not change kasi 1 lang to, di ba? Sales over sales and total asset over total asset is equal to 1. Now what we do is we rearrange the denominator. So ito naging net income after tax, linipat natin yung sales, and then sales divided by total assets, and then total assets divided by total equity. So numerator the same, denominator reposition natin. Okay, so this now translates into net income after tax over sales, which is your profit margin to. No? Sales over total assets is your TATO. Total asset over total equity, we did not meet this yet. It's called your financial leverage multiplier or equity multiplier. Okay, so what happened was yung ROE natin na isang measure lang was converted into three ratios. No? Okay, so ang ROE is equivalent to profit margin times TATO times financial leverage multiplier. Now, why did Dupont do this? Kasi gusto nila malaman paano ba natin mai-increase yung ROE. Okay, in order to increase ROE, tingnan yung profit margin, taasan yan. Tingnan yung TATO, taasan yan. Tingnan yung financial leverage multiplier, taasan yan. Kasi pag tinaasan natin yung mga yan, tataas yung ROE. Okay, remember guys, ang context nito, ROE was the most important measure at that time. So this is what we call Dupont three-way analysis. No? Kasi tatlong ratios yung tinitingnan. Meron ding five-way analysis, guys. I leave that to you guys to search ano yung five-way analysis. Ano pa yung dalawang ratios na nadagdag. Okay? So, okay, ito tinignan natin kanina to, no? This is our profit margin. Of course, paano natin mapapataasan to? Dapat taasan yung net income, no? Ito naman, dapat taasan yung sales, assuming na pareho lang yung total assets. Dito daw, paano natin mapapataasan to? If the total assets is the same, then kailangan pababaan yung total equity. Okay, let's analyze that, yung FLM, kasi ito na lang hindi natin na-analyze, no? Si financial leverage multiplier. So let's start with total assets over total equity. And then, si total equity, palitan natin ang total assets minus total liabilities. Tapos, i-divide natin lahat ng total assets, no? Numerator and denominator. So what happens is that yung numerator natin magiging 1, tapos yung denominator natin, i-distribute natin, no? Total assets over total assets, that will be equal to 1, minus total liability over total assets, that's your debt ratio. Okay, so what does this tell us? Paano daw tataas yung financial leverage multiplier? Para tumaas yung financial leverage multiplier, ang sinasabi ng equation na to, taasan yung debt ratio. Okay? If we increase the debt ratio, ibig sabihin mas maraming debt ang gagamitin kaysa equity, then tataas yung financial leverage multiplier o tataas yung equity multiplier, tataas yung ROE. Okay, so this is proven here. Okay, paano kung 0% guys yung debt ratio natin? So ang FLM natin 1 minus 0, so 1 lang yon. Okay, so this shows guys, okay, what will happen to your FLM, to your financial leverage multiplier if your debt ratio increases. Okay, in fact, pag naging 100% kayong debt ratio, magiging infinite to eh. Kasi 1 minus 1, no? So you're now dividing by 1 over 0, no? Okay, so hindi natin pwede makompute yung FLM pag 100% yung debt ratio. So suffice to say is magiging infinite yung FLM natin. So pag dagdagan natin guys yung debt ratio, ano nangyayari? Tumataas yung FLM natin. Pag tumaas yung financial leverage multiplier natin, tataas yung ROE natin. Okay, so ang sinasabi nito, use debt. Kung pwedeng pataasin yung utang compared to equity, okay yon kasi tataas yung FLM natin, tataas yung ROE. No? So that's what this means, yung FLM na to. Okay? So, okay, going back here to ROE. No? Ito guys, kinopya lang natin sa taas to. No? Okay, or you can, kasi may ROE na tayo dito, di ba? Yung return on equity ito, 12.8, negative 17.1, at saka 13.3. Okay, 12.8, pwede natin i-copy na lang yan dyan. Tapos guys, kunin natin yung ratio. Profit margin, Tato, at saka equity multiplier. Since actually meron na tayo niyan, no? So profit margin natin, meron na tayo niyan eh. Diba? This is our profit margin. So pwede natin i-link na lang dyan. No? I-copy natin. Tapos yung Tato natin, meron na rin dun sa asset management natin ito. Sa Tato, 2.02, 2.34. Okay? Yun. Tapos yung equity multiplier, ito na lang yung formula natin. Total assets over total equity. So this is your total assets divided by your total equity. Okay. So with that guys, meron na tayong equity multiplier dito or FLM. Okay, ito yung comparison company natin, yung benchmark natin. So if we multiply yung tatlong yan, yung PM times Tato times FLM, so product lang ng tatlong yan, okay, we get the same ROE. So here we're proving that, tama nga naman, ang ROE is equivalent to yung tatlong measures na to. So here we're exploding, no, yung ROE natin, and kinukuha natin yung PM, yung Tato, yung FLM, as equivalent, yung products yan, equivalent yan to ROE. Okay, so that's how the Dupont ratio was used before. No? So again, ang pinaka-bottom line yan, since importante yung ROE, so ROE was very important. So ang question, paano natin papataasan yung ROE? Pataasan yung profit margin, pataasan yung Tato, pataasan yung financial leverage multiplier. Okay? So that's the way we look at the ROE. And as I mentioned a while ago, guys, merong 5-way analysis. Okay? Baka lumabas sa equation. So paki-research na lang kung ano yung 5-way analysis ng Dupont. Okay, may dalawa pang ratios na idadagdag doon. Okay, lastly guys, so we have enough time. Altman Z. Okay, ano si Altman? Si Edward Altman yan, finance professor yan. So yung mga 1960s, so dinevelop niya yung concept na, okay, develop the Z-score, okay, using statistics, yung discriminant analysis. Sabi niya na pwede natin ma-predict kung yung company will become bankrupt by using these ratios. Okay, so take a look at these ratios. Itong ratios na to, lahat nakapeg sa, 4 dito nakapeg sa total assets, 1 nakapeg sa total liabilities. So ito yung mga factors. Yung mga factors na to fixed. 1.2, 1.4, 3.3, 0.6, and 1. These are fixed factors. So kailangan na lang natin computein yung mga ratios na to. Okay, number 1 is your net working capital over total assets. So paano natin i-compute yan? Okay, so net working capital is your current assets minus your current assets minus your current liabilities. So itong C22 na yan guys, that's your total current assets. Okay tayo. Yan, total current assets minus our total current liabilities. Okay? So that's your numerator, no? Your net working capital, and then divide natin sa total assets. Okay, so alam natin total assets na, no? Okay? So enter. So this ratio is 0.47. Okay, ganun din tong iba, no? So si retained earnings is simply your retained earnings divided by the total assets. So pretty straightforward, no? EBIT, alam na natin yan. EBIT over total assets. Okay? In fact, may pangalan tayo dyan. Anong pangalan guys ng EBIT over total assets? Di ba ang tawag dyan, basic earning power, yung BEP. Okay, so that's your BEP. Okay, and then market value of the equity divided by total liabilities. So simple lang to. Ano yung market value natin? Is the number of shares, is the stock price times the number of shares, no? Okay. So that's the market value of the equity divided by the total liabilities. Okay. So siguro gawin natin mas siguro appropriate kung kinuha din natin yung average ng number of shares natin, no? Average ng C40. Okay, let's correct this. Okay, D40. Gawin natin ano para mas consistent tayo, no? Okay? Number of shares. Okay, so this is the stock price times the number of shares average divided by our total liabilities. C32. Enter. Okay? And then we have sales over total assets. Simple lang yan. Okay? Sales over total assets, that's your Tato, di ba? Okay. 2. So the same as our Tato here. Yan, 2. Here. Okay. So now that we have measured the ratios, guys, ang gagawin na lang natin, i-multiply natin yung mga factors. Okay, instead of multiplying 1.2 times 0.47 plus 1.4 times 0.08, what we can do is use the sum product function. Okay, so si sum product, ang ginagawa niyan, kinukuha niya yung product ng mga arrays and then sinasum niya. So what will happen is that C151 to C155, ito yon, and then D151 to D155, ito. So ang gagawin ni Excel is just kukunin niya yung mga products niya mga yan, then isa-sum up niya. Alright? So the answer is 3.98. Okay, ano yung 3.98 na yan? How do we interpret that? Okay, ilagay ko lang sa chat box to guys, no? Para matingnan nyo ngayon. Control C. Okay, chat. Okay, so this is from the Corporate Finance Institute. Okay. So, buksan ko lang guys, ito yan. No? So what does this give us? Itong site na to. Yan, it explains to us, summarizes the Altman Z. Marami pang ibang sites ng Altman Z guys. So the Altman Z score is a numerical measurement used to predict the chances of a business going bankrupt in the next 2 years. Okay. All right. So, yan. This is how we interpret the model. If the value of the Z-score is between 0 and 1.8, then there's a big chance that the company will become bankrupt in the next 2 years. Yan. Distress zone yan. Okay, if the value is between 3 and 4, guys, ibig sabihin, safe zone yan. Okay, practically impossible for the company to become bankrupt. Yung gray zone naman, it's, if the Z-score is between 1.8 and 3, ibig sabihin, hindi tayo certain, no? Hindi tayo sure kung magiging bankrupt ba siya o hindi. So we have the distress zone, we have the gray zone, and then we have the safe zone. If you go down guys, andyan yung computation yan, ito yung ginagamit natin. By the way, iba't ibang klaseng Altman Z. May Altman Z para sa private companies, ibig sabihin hindi siya publicly listed. Yung sa atin kasi publicly listed kaya may market value of equity. Okay, and then ito in-explain lang kung ano yung formula, no? So I leave that to you to read. Okay? And then maraming pang sites ng Altman Z. Okay, so what's our conclusion with this one, guys? Our conclusion is that 3.98 then nung 2021 figures to, no? Okay, there's a low chance, practically impossible for the company to become bankrupt in the next 2 years based on the Altman Z. So that's our conclusion as regards the Altman Z. Okay, so it's already time, guys. Let me just have a minute, guys, just to summarize this. Okay, so we looked at financial ratio analysis and sabi natin that in order to assess the performance of the company, kailangan natin mag-measure ng mga ratios. It can be common size statement, horizontal analysis, okay, and the common ratios. Okay, sabi natin, kailangan i-benchmark natin across time and across competitor. We do not look at ratios in isolation. Okay, so in this module 2, we also learned how to prepare the statement of cash flows. Okay, and do ito yung mga spark lines, natutunan din natin yan. Okay, ito pa nga pala guys, yung sabi ko na dapat alamin nyo kung paano kukunin yung percentage change yan. Okay, then we learned how to compute for the NOWC, TOC. These are needed in order to determine yung NOPAT natin, free cash flow, ROIC, MVA, EVA. No? EVA and ROIC are very important measures to determine whether the company created value for its shareholders for that specific year. And then we looked at several ratios, types of ratios, liquidity, asset management, debt ratio, profitability ratios, and market value ratios. Sabi natin, hindi natin tinitingnan lang yan as one ratio but taken together in terms of time and as benchmark with our direct competitor. Okay, then tinignan natin yung Dupont, guys. We exploded Dupont into profit margin, data, and financial leverage multiplier. And then finally, we looked at Altman Z as a measure kung magiging bankrupt yung organization in the next 2 years. Okay, so that wraps up, guys, our discussion. I hope you learned something sa financial statements and ratio analysis natin. We will have our long quiz this coming Wednesday. Okay, so any questions, guys? Okay, ito guys, ipopost ko na to. Ipost ko na dito sa natin sa tapos ipopost ko rin sa Canvas. Okay, save ko lang siya. File, save as. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, para may copy na kagad kayo. But of course, I'm going to post this also. Okay. K37. So this is K41. K41. Save ko. Okay, and then I'll close this para ma-share ko sa inyo sa chat box, guys. Okay, na-close ko na, guys. So sa chat na lang, Chat, everyone. Okay. But I'm going to also to post this in Canvas para may may copy, may ng copy doon. Okay, common size. Okay, so K41 November 15. This is it. Okay, so while it's guys, na-post na. And then I'm going to stop recording na ako, guys. Stop recording.